What's good, family? So mash the like button, subscribe and lick off the bell. So we got some more leak footage right now. Your man's Anthony Mandela Gandhi Johnston is now training in Dubai with some next general I've never heard of called Anthony Chill Wilson. Now, I mean, as far as new trainers go and what the current sitch is with that, God only knows. Now, we know that Johnston's been in Dubai, honestly, I'm not sure what's going on, yeah? I got some more videos coming soon, your man Johnston out here getting his toes pedicured, and I'm just over the whole situation, to be fair, but, you know, specifically to this video, again, this trainer I've never heard of, but listen, that's nothing new, given the fact that I'd never heard of Mr. Fernando Alonso or Jobber Clayton. It's really quite suspect for me, the fact that, I'm not saying this guy looks alright, but they all look alright. And at this particular point in time, where we've got 6 months at the most, I mean, we're talking about an April fight here, March fight, what, 3-4 months? 3-4 months in, or even back in September, there wasn't much time. Yeah, and number one, you turn down the no win, no fee YB, fair enough, but like I said before, if you're going to be going with randoms, you might as well make it super duper random and bring the YB in. Oops. Yeah, but no, put that to one side. Like I was saying, for me, 6 months, go with something that we know is half sharp. Shane McGuigan, bear in mind, his stablemate Okoli, no one want to fight Okoli, and I've told you before, Okoli will knock Usyk out at cruiserweight, there's no doubt about that. YB, you best believe it as well. I'll be putting money on that fight if it happens. Okoli will knock him out, 100%. Now, the reason I bring Okoli up is to say that go with someone that's known. Shane McGuigan's proven he can take something that's not looking super sharp, but has a lot of potential in Okoli and turn him into the one banger. Yeah? Go with Shane. Go with Alvarez's trainer. Now, Alvarez's trainer is more of a bit of a slow burn, but again, still, it's going with something we know for this camp at least. Let's get one camp. You know what I'm saying? I feel when a fighter's going through it, you want to reduce the variables. You don't want to increase variables. You don't want to increase volatility. Yeah? Bringing in another unknown kind of... I'm not saying this Anthony Chill Wilson, he may be doing the most, but my point is, you haven't got the luxury at this particular point in time. Now, it might be the case, people. The way Johnston's acting, getting his toes done and partying in Dubai, I think it may have been a fix, and we're going to find out, if that makes sense. We're going to find out if Johnston sold his people down the river for William Hills, in as much as if he goes in there and it was all a big joke and he ends up kind of snapping back onto it and mows Usyk down, then we'll know that it was all a big fix and he took a dive, kind of thing. Now, to be fair, given the history I've chronicled, i.e. the Pulev fight, I don't actually think that's likely, because it would have had to have been a real proper plan for him to go in there. I mean, look at the Ruiz 2 fight. That was super scary, wasn't it? He fought like a super scary ass in that fight. Then he came out for Pulev, super duper scary again. So I've been chronicling the decline. So I don't think it was a fix, actually. But the way he acting, well, tell a lie. I've exposed myself there. I said he's acting as if the fight was a fix, and therefore he's acting basically super confident he's acting super confident, but what I'm trying to say is that's only one possibility. There's always two sides of things. It could be super confidence, or he don't care and he living that best life. He living that Dubai, getting my toes done, Ferrari, one of them lives. And unfortunately, the more things add up, it's not confidence we're seeing here, it's impartiality. I'm going to go in there again and make $40 million and just turn up for a sparring session. That's what it feels like. That's the vibe I'm getting from Johnston. And the way he's approaching this whole training thing. Yeah. I mean, I've always been critical of his training environment. He's always had a part-time trainer. That just can't work at this level. You need someone who, number one, knows stuff to pass on, but number two, is committed to passing on the information. You didn't hear about Cus D'Amato or Emmanuel Stewart flying in and flying out for the willy-nilly. You didn't hear all the great fighters and all the great trainers. It's a proper, as you'd expect. I mean, any sport, that's a given. You must have a full-time trainer. You don't even have to be a triple Olympic medalist to work that one out. But for Johnston, for some reason, he's never got that. And it appears to be, rather than noticing that, wait there a minute, maybe my training situation isn't the best, he's actually taken that and ridden with it. Because he's got used to having part-time trainers, he's almost taken that as a positive. Oh, well, I'm used to having part-time and bit here, bit there, so let's carry on with that. Because now, we're seeing this. I've never seen this guy before. Now he's training with 3 months, 4 months before the big fight, where you haven't got no consistency in your look, if that makes sense. You haven't been consistent for 5 years, and you're adding in some more variables in there. It just seems messy to me. It seems messy, or overconfident, or nonchalance. Pick which one you want. My guess is nonchalance and messiness. Not really that fussed. I mean, listen to what he said after the fight against Usyk. He said, you know, fans need to be happy that I put a good shift in and I can't wait to get back to the gym and to kind of take off where I left off. AKA, that fight was a bit of a sparring session to me. And listen people, I'm under no illusions here. Do I believe Anthony Johnston loves to train? Absolutely. Do I believe he loves to make $40 million for a glorified sparring match? Absolutely. But do I believe, or has he shown, he loves to get in there and get gritty with it? No, he does not. Well, no, he has not shown that. He has not shown, there's two types of fighters. Well, there's three types of fighters. There's fighters like David Price, who can't get up for it. They freeze in the big event. Then you've got people, so you've got the freezers, you've got the thrivers, who can thrive and they like to they love it. People who love to fight. And then you've got the people who love to train and just kind of do the other bit, do the competition part for the sake of it. Johnston at the moment is falling into the cat who likes to train but ain't really feeling getting stuck in. When you think about people like James Toney or whatever, they love to fight. Who else is there? Even Roy Jones, all them kind of characters, they love to fight. They love to get in there and get stuck in. Holyfield, you know what I'm saying? Even Holyfield to this day, old and shot to bits, still happy to get in there and give it a go. Johnston, not even in the prime of his career, hasn't really showed that. Again, look at the Ruiz rematch. That should have been, if he had the right team around him, and I'm not blaming all of his team because he's got to start taking some responsibility now. Yeah, it's well known. He himself knows his team is trash, so we can't be hanging on that one anymore. If your mentality ain't right, that's because you don't want it to be right. That's because you prefer to be a sparring partner. You essentially were a sparring partner for Usyk. He didn't even want to knock you out for some reason because he was sparring you. Yeah, he did you. To be honest, he did you as bad as he did Dave Allen. No word of a lie. The way Dave Allen was stumbling and the way that Usyk backed off of him looked exactly the same as the Johnston fight. Yeah, Dave Allen gave. I'm shocked to say Dave Allen gave Usyk a tougher spar, or as tough a spar as Johnston did, because you both ended up the same way, all stumbling and gassed out your life. Yeah. So I'm just at this point. I'm sure there's loads of Johnston fans who are mad hearing this, but what do you want me to say? What do you want me to do? Look at this and say what? And yeah, I could analyse some of the technical elements. I mean, there was, but I mean, boxing training, there's only so many things you can do, if that makes sense. So I was about to say, or I could say, on a positive note, oh look, he's throwing some combinations, or oh look, he appears to be coming forward a bit more, but then, he's training at the end of the day, meaning that you're always going to be throwing some combinations. I mean, I remember doing the videos before the Usyk fight saying AJ's loading up for massive shots in the training. And guess what? He didn't even do any of that. I was critiquing the fact he was throwing big singles, saying he needs to put 2 or 3 together instead. And guess what? I would have taken the big singles. We got neither. We got no big singles and we got no big triples or doubles. It was all sparring style. So to sit here and say, oh well, look, he looks maybe, it's not worth it. All that matters now is we know he can have the talent. We know he can put shots together. It's a question of will he? What is your will? Yeah, we've seen you wheel out all the psyop, all the psyop Under Armour adverts trying to convince us that, oh, I'm a throwback fighter. We've seen all the Instagram tweets you've put out about, oh, hashtag throwback fighter. But now, Johnston, the question is, are you going to actually do it? Because you've done the talking now. You've done the hyping. You've done the psyoping. And that's the unfortunate thing about society today. People that don't do want to convince you other way, or want to convince you otherwise. I haven't shown you I'm a throwback fighter. I mean, I've got Johnston fans telling me, YB, how dare you say he's not a throwback fighter? He fights anyone. No, I told you before, he loses to anyone. It's not the same thing. Yeah? You can't be a throwback fighter if you go in there and lose. That's what you call a Derek Chisora. Derek Chisora ain't a throwback fighter. He's a throwback loser. He'll go in there and lose. I mean, who wouldn't do that? I'd go in there and lose. I'll tell you what, pay me $1 million and see if I won't go in there and lose to Parker as well. I mean, who can't do that? Yeah? And I said in my Patreon the other day, I'm done with celebrating, even though I'll give Chisora credit, yeah, for kind of having some element of warrior, but really, not training and not being fit, and then turning up and ending up in a war every time because you're not fit and you're not taking the sport seriously. I'm not giving credit for that no more. So Chisora don't get no credit because you keep losing, Chisora. What is this? It's meant to be a sport where you turn up to win. Turning up and ending up in a 50-50 fight every time because you was lazy and you've only got 3 rounds of gas, so you end up having to push through. That's the reason Chisora fights look like a war every time. Or that's why Chisora fights look like life and death fights every time. It's because he's lazy in training. He only has 3 rounds. So he ends up 3 rounds in just swinging left and right. It adds to the drama because if he was fit, I mean, for example, watch Chisora versus Dillian White 2. Oops. That basically exposed Chisora's whole career. Because when Chisora went in there fit, yeah, it wasn't a war from the jump. He was actually dominating the fight the whole way through. But then you see the Parker fight, and he had 2 rounds in him. And he's fumbling all over the floor because he ain't got no gas tank. So these guys talk about, oh, I'm a warrior, war Chisora. No gas tank Chisora. Not taking the sport seriously Chisora. Johnston. No heart Anthony no heart. Yeah? Anthony no push through. And I wouldn't mind, but these guys are getting paid record amounts of money here. And that goes for anyone. Anyone making records amount of money, we expect records amount of performance. Or at least, you know what I'm saying? At least trying to get there. Now, like I said, I'm not seeing the right things from the commitment from Johnston. I'm not seeing the things I'd like to be seeing. But again, it doesn't really matter what happens in this part here. Yeah, we can infer things. For example, if he'd have gone away and got a proper trainer and we saw him, you know what, maybe if we didn't see him for months, we could say, oh look, we haven't seen him. For example, imagine if we'd heard that AJ teams up with Shane McGuigan and then we hadn't seen him for 4 months. We could be saying, you know what, man, he's gone away and he's doing his thing. But we have, again, that's my point, we haven't seen that kind of commitment, or, you know what I'm saying, where he's cut clean from Rob McCrappen, he's knuckled down with someone and we ain't seen nothing. Or he's knuckled down with someone and we have seen periodic updates and he's looking back on it. Do you know what I'm saying? We're not getting that. We're getting he's in Dubai, 3 months before the fight, he's in Dubai with some next trainer we never heard of. I mean, how have you gone from... So wait there, you visited 4 trainers in Dubai, in America. You then flown back and now 2 months later you're with the next don in Dubai. It's kind of like you're on holiday in different locations and you're just kind of all over the place. But again, ultimately what's gone on here is AJ exposed it. AJ said, well, Rob, later this year, back in October, AJ said later this year, Rob's going away with Team GB, so I'm going to have to go back out to America. Now obviously, he chose not to go back out to America and he's now in Dubai. So what's really going on, people, is Rob McCrappen's doing his part-time thing. Johnston can't pull the trigger and get rid of McCracken. So he's just in Dubai waiting to go back to McCracken. And that's another why. He don't deserve, in my opinion, he don't deserve to his true potential, because he can't cut off dead wood. He deserves to stay exactly where he is and to keep devolving. The things I'm saying here aren't rocket science. It's obvious. Rob McCracken, 10 years later. I mean, for example, look at people slag off Tunde, yeah? And I've got to admit, I slagged him off to an extent, but it was constructive. But either way, people slag off Tunde, but guess what? Tunde, in a very short period of time, without all of this major experience, everyone sucks Rob McCracken off for all this experience he's supposed to have. How's your man gone backwards for 5 years? At least Anthony Yardy, yeah, nipped it in the bud. They had one bad fight, or essentially, they had two, but basically, they learned from both lessons. Because after the Kovalev loss, yeah, they came back and then they went into the other mode. They went to maintain cardio mode. So every time they're learning. That Arthur fight, part of the reason it ended up going the way it was because they were trying to refrain from having the same mistakes in the Kovalev fight, i.e. running out of gas. So they ended up being way too conservative, and it kind of tipped the other way. But either way, guess what? The next Arthur fight, they show, so they're learning. They're learning, nipping things in the bud. Every fight, things are getting cracked on with. Guess what? Johnston. All he's learned to do is run from the problems. Not double down on himself. Anthony Yard could have easily said, oh, you know what, and fannied around. He doubled down on himself, and it paid off handsomely. Johnston ran from his problems and continues running from the problems. Yeah? So like I said, ultimately, we're not going to know what's what until the night. But what we do know is, from action's point of view, you're not talking. And that, for me, almost makes it worse. The fact that he's still talking about things, about throwback. But we ain't seeing no throwback in us, to be honest. I'm not seeing it. That's a fact. Call me a liar. What have you seen that actually shows you throwback? Because from now on, I'm an actions man. There was a time where I believed in what people said. Yeah, but when Johnston, before the before the Usyk fight, when Johnston gassed me up and told me it's going to be a KO. And I thought, you know, AJ hasn't lied before. Let me believe this. And I should have known then, to be fair. But either way, because I should have known from the Pulev fight. Because before the Pulev fight, he was saying similar things. Oh, it's going to be KO and this, that, and the other. He came out like a fanny. So I should have known then. But I thought, you know, well, to be fair, he did get the KO. 2-2s. Yeah, so from now on, I don't believe nothing no one says apart from... And even Jake Paul. But he's still young and learning. But the point is, guess what? Jake Paul, tell me something. Bet the money on my check come in nicely. Oops. Yeah, all these real boxers waste my damn coins. Sean Porter, waste my coins. Johnston, waste my coins. Jake Paul, money in the account, no doubt. Money ain't missed once. Oops. Yeah, that's a fact as well. Anthony Yardy, money in the account. Yeah. So Johnston, it's time for you to show us what's up. Am I going to bet on Johnston? Absolutely not. No way. Never again. Unless he shows me something. Unless he turns into Canelo Alvarez overnight. Then I'll start saying, you know what, I'll put my hands up. Yeah, fair enough. If Rob McCracken and Johnston are able to flip this around, and I don't mean just win either. Yeah, winning ain't the point here. Like I said from the Ruiz fight, winning was never the point. The point is to be on your purpose. Because you ain't been on your purpose for 5 years now. You've been trying to run from destiny. You've been trying to run from the point, and the point's always been to be Africangeles, to be a fighting machine. Not to be telling your trainer, well, I don't want to be in a tough fight anymore. Oh, Rob, can you train me not to be in a tough fight anymore because I don't like the Klitschko fight was a bit tough for me. I don't really want to be in a tough fight. What? You need to retire then, don't you? If you don't want to be in a tough fight as a heavyweight, you need to retire because it is tough getting punched by 250-pound men. That's just what it is. I mean, look at and especially at that level. Once you get to the top 10% of the, once you're the champion and you're fighting top 10% dudes every fight, that's the way it goes. I mean, look at Fury and Wilder. Wilder got no skill whatsoever, but that's what happens. When you start getting in the ring here with top 10% athletes, every fight more or less going to be life and death. That's what you must expect. And if you can't fulfill that, retire. Because I'm trying to think, who do you know really? I mean, I guess you could say Lennox to an extent. He was able to kind of navigate his way through fights, but you ain't no Lennox. That's what we found out. We found out you ain't a Lennox. Yeah, and you ain't got that style of Lennox. Either way you look at it, and to be honest, that's not even fair, because guess what? When Vitali came for Lennox, he, despite the fact he wasn't that fit, he still found a way to get through and win. You ain't that guy. So you need to get rid of this whole idea of, oh, maybe I can negotiate my way through fights. You ain't no negotiator. You ain't no Floyd Mayweather. You ain't no negotiator. What made you half decent was the fact that you got big hands and you can put them together. That's it. You ain't no IQ. You ain't no businessman. You ain't no magician. You're a big unit, and when you put your big unit self, you know what I'm saying? When you put that big unit to work, it works. That's it. That's all your career has actually proven. Yeah? Apart from that, you've proven you can run from a big bubbly Michelin looking ass dude in Ruiz, and you've proven you can go 50-50 with a 40-year-old Pulev. That's it. Is that the legacy you want to have? Well, your super fans will tell you it is. Oh, YB, that's IQ you're watching. Watching Africanulese run around from a big bubbly dude. That's what you call IQ. Wow. And I'm glad God's good, because I'm glad it's worked out the way it has. I'm glad all that IQ rubbish got your head boxed off by a cruiserweight. That's what you deserve to get as well. Because I told you, that's not how things are supposed to go. That's not the path that was written for you. You thought you were smart. Oh, well, you know, I'm going to make $50 million a pop just running around. But now you're not. Oops, got your head boxed off. Yeah? And rightfully so. I told you before, if Johnston thinks he's going to go in there, and so I believe my base case would be Anthony Johnston is going to go in there with Usyk and try to outbox him like the Ruiz fight, like the Ruiz rematch. That's what I believe will happen. That's where I believe that's where his safe place is. Oh, when I lose, I know what to do. I'll run from it. And I hope if that happens, Usyk puts his guard up like he did against Joe Joyce, and not so much, but either way, I hope Usyk's training to walk this dude down, because let's call a spade here. Usyk wasn't that offensive the whole night, and look how it ended. He could have got knockout. So I really hope, if Johnston comes to run, I hope Usyk knocks him out. I really do. But anyway, you've seen the footage. Let me know your thoughts, and your boy will be back.